Since today we're going to be talking about some incredible charitable contributions to the community, I wanted to read a poem called Gratitude. Even on my darkest days, I don't want to die, which I take as a positive sign. Every stretch of highway without a traffic jam seems to match with an available classic rock station, and that's an undisputable gift. The first time I saw the movement of leaves as opposed to the movement of trees, if I'd had glasses all the time, there would have been no such wondrous discovery. Wind chimes, bells, the Stouffer's Bakery smell that always hovers right past the grounds of the hospital at the exact place you stop to lower your head and take a slow, deep breath if such a response is needed after your hospital visit. That's hardly accidental, which is why I am eternally grateful. Good evening and welcome to Culture in Maine, York's cultural showcase, and the reason why I, Carla Christopher, York City's fourth and current poet laureate, hopefully am coming into your homes at least once a week, every week. Now, tonight we are going to be talking to some awesome cultural icons. Mark Sutherland Sr., who is the head of Blue Rooster Entertainment and brings Roosterpalooza to York County every year, is going to be here, along with Mark Sutherland Jr., who is going to be a musician and host at Roosterpalooza this year. So check out some of these videos, some of these interviews, some of this music, and some of this art, and be grateful that you have such a wonderful art scene in your very own county.
Ceiling for me. Next, get back. I said, come on before we crack. I said, lose your blues. I said, everybody got cut, everybody got to lose. I'm Eugene Marks, and it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much. Everybody got to lose. Jump back all day, every day, yeah. She got class and style, she managed by the pound. Baby never act wild, yes, she very low-key on the profile, yeah. Catching feelings is I know, let me tell you how it goes. Herbs, the word spins the verb. Lovers in love, so freak what you heard. The way you work it, jump back all day, every day, yeah. The way you work it, yeah. Yeah, she got class and style. I said she managed by the pound, yeah. Baby never act wild, yes, she very low-key on the profile, yeah. Catching feelings is I know, let me tell you how it goes. I said verbs, the word spins the verb. Lovers in love, so freak what you heard. The way you work it, jump back all day, every day, yeah. The way you work it, jump back all day, every day, yeah. The way you work it, jump back all day, every day, yeah. The way you work it, jump back all day, every day, yeah. The way you work it, jump back all day, every day, back it every day, yeah. The way you work it, jump back all day, every day. I wanna make you my girl. The way you work it, jump back all day, every day, back it every day. The way you work it, jump back all day, every day, yeah. It's cold outside, she hands me my raincoat. She's always worried about things like that. She said it's all gonna end, so might as well be my fault, yeah. She only sleeps when it's raining, and she screams. Voice is straining, she says, baby, it's 3 a.m, I must be lonely. Yeah, she says, baby, I can't help but be scared of it. Oh, sometimes rain gonna wash away, I believe in. Got a little bit of something, God, it's better than nothing. The clock on the wall has been stuck at 3 for days and days. She swears that happiness madness sits on a doorway. Well, outside it stopped raining. Yeah, she says, baby, it's 3 a.m, I must be lonely. Yeah, she says, baby, I can't help but be scared of it. Oh, sometimes the rain gonna wash away, I believe in. myself the note she wrote that I can't bring myself to throw away. Not so rich, she said, from no one else but me. You're here all the time, I won't go away. Hey, well, it's me. Yeah, well, I can't get myself to go away. Hey, hey, well, it's me. Yeah, well, I can't get myself to go. Well, you gotta feel this way now. Reach down your hand in your pocket, pull out some hope for me. It's been a long day. All the ways saying that I don't know, Lord, your hand won't stop it. Just keep you trembling. It's been a long day. All the ways saying that right. Oh, ain't that right? Ain't that right? From the cold, just when I was low and feeling short of stable. How she intends, how she keeps inside isn't on the label. She said she's ashamed. Can she take me far? Can I be your friend? We'll forget the past. Maybe I'm not able. And I break out the band. Here and now, could you ever be again? I have found all that shimmers in this world is sure to fade away again.
Now, the music was amazing, and it came from Mark Sutherland Jr. But if you keep a close eye on the subtitles, I'm actually back here with Mark Sutherland Sr., who is the original Big Blue Rooster behind Blue Rooster Entertainment and the Mac Daddy behind Roosterfest, which Mark Sutherland Jr. is going to be hosting and performing at, but Mark Sutherland Sr. is going to be evil masterminding. So let's find out exactly what is Roosterfest and what's going to be going on in this completely ordinance-free wild orgy of rock and roll madness that's going to be taking over Spring Grove. So Roosterfest 4 is coming up this year. So you've decided to keep it going. Now, how did Roosterfest actually get started?
It started as a get-together at my house when I lived up in Dover. And I invited a bunch of friends over, and
they all happen to be rock stars.
They're all rock stars because I grew up playing music in the area, and been in and out of bands, and so I know all musicians, and I had all my musician friends over, and we had a party, and it was a big, big hit.
The jam session rock out. And then you're like, you know what? Let me just bring some more people, start charging, and let's start tattooing people. And that's what makes it a real festival.
That's right. It's a real music festival in that it has all types of music and activities, events, vendors, food vendors, craft items to tattooing, like you said, like you had mentioned. So we do it all, just like any Palooza party would be.
Nice. And now Roosterfest is actually September 21st.
Yes.
And it starts at 11 in the morning and goes all the way till 11 at night.
Yes. Gates open at 11 and there's live entertainment all through the day.
Awesome. And it's even, I love that it's pet friendly. I am a little obsessed. My little pitbull puppy, Miles Coltrane, has even been on the show for me. So I'm super excited that you can bring your pets, you can bring your chairs, you can bring food, you can just relax and enjoy, but all day long music. You've got former guests, Soji is going to be out there. You've got Kodiak who've been on here. So like, how do you find the artists? Like, how do you decide who fits the Rooster brand and who you want to showcase?
That's actually a good question.
So much local talent.
Yeah, there is. That's a very good question. The sad part about that question is I have to turn a lot of bands, a lot of musicians away, and I hate to do that. This year, I decided to go on my Facebook and ask the question, who do you think you would like to see at Roosterpalooza this year?
Nice.
And
Facebook.
The outpouring was just incredible. I mean, there must have been over 80 or 90 bands represented, acoustic acts to heavy metal to blues to you name it. And so I let the people do the talking this year. And so several of the bands are here by popular demand.
Ooh. Now, one of the things that drew me to Roosterfest is that aside from just being an awesome showcase for regional musicians, that it has a really strong community service component, that every year you have different charities that you actually donate a lot of the proceeds to. So now, tell me about this year's charity recipients.
This year, we're going to have Speranza Animal Rescue and Pet Pantry of Lancaster's coming out. So it is a pet-friendly environment this year. And I've often thought, why can't we bring our dogs and cats and our chimpanzees or whatever it is that we have, to an outside party? So this year it is going to be pet-friendly. And then also we're doing the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society is going to get a large portion of the proceeds.
That's awesome. How did you end up picking them? What drew you to that foundation?
My mother actually is battling cancer right now as we stand here, and I thought I wanted to do something in that area. So.
That's awesome. And what better way than music that lifts the spirits and then also gets to lift the bottom line of the fundraising
That's
too.
Right. That's right.
Incredible. So what do you think are some of the highlights that people can really look forward to at coming to Roosterfest this year?
The highlights of the festival every year obviously is the music. The talent is just incredible. Anywhere from blues to rockabilly to punk rock to heavy metal to rock and roll, classic rock and roll, acoustic acts, slow music. I mean, we have it all, literally, quite literally. The food is always good. Our food vendors are out of this world. Always good food, craft items, lots of stuff to buy. Yeah, really. Lots of stuff to buy. It's just a great atmosphere.
That's awesome. So what gives you the inspiration to keep doing this? I mean, I can't imagine how much work this has to be to put on. I know you said Spring Grove doesn't have the noise ordinance, and since it's private land, you don't have to do all the stuff with permits, which is awesome, the freedom that you have to really do what you want and create the environment that you want. But I mean, when do you start working on putting this together for an event in September?
Right away. I start right away.
You're like, I start October the year before.
Actually, it actually was a great question because every year I do this, I always tell myself, I'm not ever doing that again. But then a month will go by and I'll start thinking, okay, now it's time to start getting ready for Roosterpalooza. I do it because of first of all, my passion for music and to see bands in the area, local live entertainment highlighted. That's my number one reason to doing it. And of course, now we raise money for different causes. So, but yeah, I don't want to do it, but I must do it because it just needs to be done.
We need the music. There's still vending spots available.
There are.
There are still food and goods and services. You need to get out to Roosterfest. You need to see this amazing 12 hours of music and bands. And what better way to be a part of not just the music community, but the community at large, than to be part of a great music festival that does so much for the community and that donates so much money and raises so much awareness for so many good causes. Mark, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to us about Roosterpalooza. And I'm going to be there.
Awesome.
And I'm going to bring my carload. Awesome. So are you going to be up on the stage?
Yeah, I'll be up on stage. I look forward to you coming. Just everyone.
You're going to do some music? You're going to do some music? All right.
I'll play.
I just wanted to make sure.
I just want to remind everybody to go to roosterpalooza.com, and tickets right now are actually half price.
And that's only $10 right now, correct?
That's right.
Because it's going to be $20 if they show up at the door.
That's right.
Bam. Bam. Okay. 2 for 1. Go online right now. Roosterpalooza.com. We will see all of you at Roosterfest. We're on the corner of Market and Sherman, right in the heart of downtown, for one of the best on-the-street segments I've gotten to film all year. See, some art and some artists are way too big to have in the studio. And Ramone, aka Redeemed One, is definitely one of those guys. So check out the art behind me and let's actually talk to the incredible graffiti style artist who helped put it together. How exactly did you end up doing this in the first place?
Doing this art form or doing this mural?
Well, first the mural, because the mural is incredible.
Okay.
And I've seen that it is constantly changing. That whenever I drive past this place, I see some awesome new artwork. So do you just keep redoing it and redoing it?
Yeah, you know what, we've been blessed. I actually walked into this shop, oh my gosh, probably close to 10 years ago. And I just have such a love and a passion for murals and for graffiti style art. Right. And I've been looking for places to actually do it legally. So I walked in here one day and just asked the guy working here, I said, hey, can I paint your wall? And he said, yeah, sure. I just got to check with my landlord. And I'm like, this is who I am. This is what I do. You know, I think it'd work out great for both of us. And about a week or two later, I called him up and he said, yeah, we're good. You know, we're good to go. So that was like over 10 years ago. And so we've been painting it over and over every couple of years, just kind of freshening it up, bringing in some people, some other artists. And I've actually had a couple of young guys who were doing graffiti illegally, and amazing artists, very talented, passionate about graffiti. And I brought them in on it because I wanted to give them a place to paint, and also promote art, you know, and show them that, hey, you can make a living, you know, as doing what you love to do, and you don't have to get in trouble, you don't have to do illegals. So I appreciate graffiti art, its history and what it is. I do appreciate it, but you know, for me in my life and my vision and my calling, I just really feel like you know, I want to help young people who are into graffiti make a name for themselves and pursue that art form.
So now, when you say the history of graffiti art, I mean, I can look at this mural and I can see that there's all different kinds of styles. You've got this great surrealistic, almost cartoonish art. There's the Japanimation influence with the sharp angles. The shading in some of the tattoo style, the vintage tattoo style art is absolutely to die for. So the technique is obvious, but is there really a separate history of graffiti?
Well, there's the original history, you know, New York City, Philadelphia, where guys were scribbling their names on walls, and then the letters got bigger, and then they got more colorful, and so that's what I mean by the history. Also, New York City, you know, years ago, I think it was late 60s, early 70s, when young people were stealing spray paint and painting walls to express themselves, because they were you know, they were poor from the city, and they wanted a way to be able to express themselves artistically, and also speak to the city of things that were going on at the time. And so that's kind of, and then also with trains, you know, people scribbling on trains. So that's the history of it. You got to appreciate where it's come from, those who have kind of paved the way for us here in the future. So, and then it's definitely excelled and gotten a lot crazier, moving over into Europe and even Asia. They caught wind of graffiti and just taking it to all kinds of new levels. So me particularly, I like to have the old school influence as well as the newer, crazy, doesn't make sense influence as well. So that's just me particularly. Wonder, aka Brandon Gross, he definitely favors the old school with some of the little bit more of the newer school, but just has a way of progressing the old school style into kind of a more modern form.
Well, now I know that you said, although you are today the inspirational community mentor, completely legitimate commissioned artist doing graffiti style artwork, you did come from a background where you had that same need to express. You were basically using your art to shout to the world, and it wasn't necessarily always in commissioned murals, but then you took the name of Redeemed One and you said that that's a theme in your artwork. How does your own personal redemption play out in the art?
Well, I feel like early on, when I was really young, getting into art, it was just negative. My artwork really reflected what was going on in my life at the time. As a young kid, growing up with a single mom, trying to find who I was, you know, trying to become a man and all that. Fighting, you know, growing up in a Spanish community and the Spanish culture, you know, fighting machismo and stuff like that. It really, my artwork was really influenced by all that negative stuff. So it came out in my artwork, you know, I was drawing things that were negative, drawing things that were inappropriate, you know, things like that, promoting a lifestyle of drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. Later on in my life, in my early 20s, I really had a turnaround in my life. I became a Christian, and that really had an influence on my artwork because I really wanted to keep going with it, especially with the graffiti style artwork. So I really had a vision to help kids and promote the art form and promote all the positive things in my life now. So that's where redeemed one, redemption, that's how it plays out in my artwork. I'm always somehow, some way trying to portray or promote positive things in my murals and in my letter style and anything that I do, really.
Now, how do you actually go about just the technicality of creating something on this large of a scale? I know you said you honestly only might use 6 or 7 cans of spray paint, but when you have all these layers and shading and the huge size of the art, that seems like almost impossible to believe.
Well, actually, what I meant was we will actually go through 6 or 7 cans. That means we'll empty them out. But we'll use close to 100 cans, but not all of them will actually be emptied out. 1 can actually goes a long way. And, after doing this kind of art form for so many years, you kind of get an eyeball feeling of what can go where. And between me and Brandon, we really just kind of spaced it out using our eyes. I've done murals before where they've all been gridded out, so on paper, and then you kind of go brick by brick, just kind of create this big grid. But with stuff like this one, it's really fun, and we have a lot of freedom. We can pretty much place things where they go, and we know how it will pan out, and so we just kind of have a lot of fun with it. The bricks tend to be kind of like our measurement rule of measurement. So that's how we go about doing a big mural like this.
So now, when you are working with other artists, how do you reconcile your style? Because we have a lot of artists that work in collaboration, but when you're working in something so huge and trying to use these individual pieces to create one overall statement, is it just sort of everybody puts something somewhere? Do you have a theme where you try to make it all work together? Do you actually work on the same pieces together, or is it totally separate?
Honestly, there's usually with doing graffiti style murals like this, it would be pretty much every man for himself as far as their own style. There's typically one person who kind of is in charge, maybe the project manager, and just kind of says, okay, this is the theme we're going with. You go here, and you paint here. And then everybody just kind of does their own thing. But there's only not even a handful of artists that I can actually work side by side with, very comfortable with. I can actually work on his work. He can actually work on my work. Brandon Gross is actually one of those artists who is just very good at what he does, and we actually complement each other very, very well. And I'm able to tell him, hey, this is what I'm thinking, and he's able to execute it. He's able to tell me this is what he's thinking, and I'm able to execute it that easily. So, but that's actually very rare. But typically we just kind of, you go there, and do your thing. So that's typically how it works.
Well, if you want to see more of Ramone doing his thing, you need to check out redgraff.com, REDGRAFF.com, to find more of his artwork, places where you can find his incredible murals. And hey, your living room wall is big and empty. I'm just saying, something different. One of my favorite things to do is get out of the studio and on the street. I love catching talent in the natural surrounding showcase of York City's beautiful parks. And we're actually here in Albemarle Park with not one, but 2 of the region's absolutely best poets. Now, Dr. Nathaniel Gadsen, former poet laureate of Harrisburg, is also the founder of Nate Gadsen's Word Shop, which has been putting spoken word and cultural awareness for poetry in the community for more than 20 years. I'm also here with Melanie Simms, a former poet laureate of Perry County. Now, Melanie has been uniting poet laureates in organizations, readings, and even books for years, and she is one of the most well-known advocates for poetry and poetry performance in the entire state. First, before I get to talk to them, though, let's check out some of their incredible poetic stylings.
Hello, my name is Nathaniel Gadsen. I'm founder and director of Nathaniel Gadsen's Writer's Word Shop, which was founded in 1977. We've been going strong ever since. We meet every Friday night at the Midtown Scholar bookstore, a tribute to Reverend Olin Harris. There is something about Olin. In the heavens, they say, the area covered by your life is not as important as what you build on it. Being in the giver's good grace is worth more than an outstretched hand. Good fortune will not happen to you. Good fortune is given to him who seeks it. It's the voice, the mellow valley voice, unique in tone and texture. It echoes and glides, commands and soothes, a voice filled with greater gratitude, a voice bearing gifts, giving good nature and God to those who will listen, a voice of intimacy and interest, a voice forgiving of foolish folly and carelessness, a voice of the heart, a voice that oozes happiness, a voice that makes you feel at home. The African says, a good-humored person has no enemy. Your goodness is not for yourself, but for others. There is something about Olin. It's the smile that delivers courtesy, courage, and consideration, the confident smile that disarms your criticism, the suffering smile providing stubborn sweetness to the suspicious soul, the repentant smile sharing respect, regret, and renewal, the enduring smile that lingers long after the last word is spoken, the educated smile that knows when kindness is needed. In the motherland, they say, a man's face shows what is in his heart. A big heart is better than the big brain. Kindness is better than wealth. There is something about Olin. It's the spirit, the Christian spirit of passionate parents passed on, the spirit of God in a symphony of song, the old age spirit whose origins are traced through oppression, observation, and opportunity, the ancestor spirit speaking self-respect, self-reliance, and self-control. In search of self, his spirit speaks and smiles in a language enriched by the souls that knew him when he was still a hope in ancient Egypt, a prayer in Tanzania, a nursery rhyme in Zimbabwe, a fable in Mali, a poem in Uganda, a dying wish in Kenya, a wedding vow in Nigeria, a shout in Rwanda, and a war cry in South Africa. There is something about Olin. In Uganda, they say, to ask is to know. So today, we come to give praise and blessings to one with a God-filled voice, an anointed smile, and a passionate spirit. But the truth is, we stand in willful wonderment with a curious question and a playful tugging at the garment of God, asking, what is it really about Olin Harris that you have given him favor? How is he blessed? Why is it that we can't help but to love him? Is it the voice? Is it the smile? Is it the spirit? Or is it just that we see you, God, in him? Oh well, whatever it is, dear God, we love Olin Harris, and we always will. Amen, we say to Brother Olin Harris. Amen. And then my final poem today, I'll dedicate to youth everywhere. I am always also saddened by the tragic death of Trayvon Martin and the verdict that I thought was unjust. And I hope that all people in this country are able to heal from that, but also that justice will finally prevail. But I especially want young people to know, especially young African-American, Latinos, and other people who find themselves sometimes misunderstood only because of the way they dress, only because from where they come from, or whatever, that they begin to understand. And so this poem is simply called, Do You Understand? And it goes like this. You are called to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. You must define yourself, name yourself, create for yourself, and speak for yourself. Do you understand? We must build and maintain our community together and make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems and solve them together. We must build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses and profit from them together. Do you understand? We must make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. You must always do as much as you can, in the way that you can, in order to leave your community more beautiful and beneficial than you inherited it. You must believe with all your heart in your people, your parents, your teachers, your leaders, and the righteousness and victory of your struggle. You must be willing to unite with your people, be self-determined, and not led by others' definition of you. Let your work be a part of a greater collective work, and take responsibility for your work. Cooperate with your community to build economic power that stays in your community. Live a life of purpose, be creative, free your mind, let go, let God, have faith. Do you understand? You are the sum total of a greater whole. The ancestors' boldness is still in you. Unleash it. He who doubts and diminishes you fears you. Let him be. Look up and then look within. Behold, the only one greater than yourself is revealed. Do you understand? Do you really understand? Be disciplined and dedicated. Achievement will be yours. Dare to struggle and sacrifice, and you will gain strength from this. Leave a legacy of liberation, laughing and loving as long as the sun shines and the water flows. Let values be your guiding light and principles be your soil. Understand who you are. Understand who you are. Do you understand? Harambe.
Hi, my name is Melanie Simms, and it's wonderful to be out here in York, enjoying the park here. It's a little bit warm, but it's definitely beautiful. It can't be beat. I am from Sunbury, Pennsylvania, and I am the former Poet Laureate of Perry County. I'm currently finishing my bachelor's at Bloomsburg University, and this is one of my first collection titled Waking the Muse. You can find it on Amazon.com, or through your local bookstore. Just give them let them know the name of the author, which is me. And I'm also going to share some poems for you from the state of Pennsylvania. I have quite a few poems that I've written about the state of Pennsylvania, about my experiences living in Pennsylvania. And actually, one poem that's become quite popular and been very fond of and sharing is called Sunbury. And that's from the town I currently live in now, in Sunbury, Pennsylvania, which is Northumberland County. So Sunbury, hi, and this is for you. These are the recollections of an old town where streets are encumbered with uneven pavements and small businesses face uncertain economies. Yet it is here, in the midst of faces hardened by poverty, that the rich tones and memorable notes of Sunbury must be remembered. The Susquehanna River shifting alongside her shore as lifeboats flit across iridescent waves, and an old gray wall stands sentinel, offering testament to the tales of a great flood. It is here where the moans of the daily trains chug down the old tracks, and the air, electrified with the past, still echoes the librettos of Lorenzo da Ponte. This is where you breathe the daily market street aroma of the squeeze-in, where even now one can feast on hot dogs, chips, and soda for a beggar's fee, while enjoying its notoriety for inclusion in the Guinness Book of World Records for its smallness. There are other memories not to be forgotten. A certain Hotel Edison, whose ghosts whisper of a time when Edison arrived, searching for new methods of light, and photos still clinging to the lobby walls, depicting an image of a little ghost boy, still mesmerizing guests and reminding us that even in the fires of regret, one can still arise victorious. And that's the first one of the first poems about the state that I've written, and I've had several of them serving as a former Perry County Poet Laureate. I think it's just sort of oriented me towards writing about the environment around me. And in fact, I owe York, Pennsylvania, I think it was the York Dispatch, credit for publishing my very first poem titled The Pumpkin Patch when I was in 4th grade. So I certainly have a very strong feeling of affection for York, Pennsylvania. And I wanted to share that. And if I'd brought the poem with me, I would, but just so you know. I have another poem that I'd like to share called Ode to a Lover on the Susquehanna, and this has been actually republished several times. I was, as has Sunbury, and it was nice to see the interest from different publishers about, poems of poetry of place. And so I'm going to share another one with you. And this one again is titled Ode to a Lover on the Susquehanna, and it was written and inspired by my walk in Sunbury along the Susquehanna River, just enjoying the beauty there. Love needs no language, not here, along the Susquehanna, watching as she twists and bends, returning to mouths where sunlight and lovers meet. Not here, where the silver maple and black cherry sway patiently amidst the romantic odes of the meadowlark or the ecstasy of the osprey, as they dive and re-emerge fed by the river. Not here, where the haunting tales of lush mountains record through the ages those first seedlings of love. Here, along the river, she reveals us to one another, as we confess our love, baptized between her gentle waves. How has she found us? here along the Susquehanna, reflecting in our gaze the memories of our ancient love's return. And I'm going to share a poem, actually, get away a little bit about the state of Pennsylvania and just share a poem from this one. I have another book coming out, actually a couple, but I didn't want to really send much information until it was more confirmed. But it's called Waking the Muse, and it's sold about 500 copies so far, which isn't bad. And so I'm going to share a poem for you from that one. And it's for my son, Christopher. My son doesn't know his own strength. Shadows flicker across the room, ducks, rabbits, and wolves. He has made them with his hands and watches them dance across the moonlit wall. He laughs as he creates creature after creature. My little God. Thank you.
I know. I always find the best. They're pretty amazing. But their stories and the kind of work that they do, I have to admit, I have a soft spot for that, even more so than some of the poetry they do. So please join me in meeting the amazing Dr. Nathaniel Gadsen and Miss Melanie Simms. Welcome to York.
Thank you.
I
It's
can't
nice
believe
to be
you guys
here.
came down so far just for our little old show and our lovely audience. But they are true poetry appreciators here in York. They absolutely appreciate the work and the talent that goes into it. And, you know, but what I love about both of you is that you are not just known for the work that you do and the poetry that you do. You are both huge promoters of poetry in your areas. Now, Dr. Gadsen, why don't you start and tell us about your 20 years of advocacy? 'Cause I know Writer's Workshop is not the only thing you do. You're kind of synonymous with the arts in the entire Harrisburg area. Give like the Nate Gadsen story of poetry advocacy.
Okay, I shall do that. First, let me say this, though. Your introduction said there were 2 outstanding poets, but I want to say 3, because I've heard you do your poetry. You are phenomenal. You're fantastic. So thank you so much for inviting us to be a part of the show. And I mean that sincerely, because we got a chance to read with you at the Midtown Scholar in Harrisburg, thanks to Melanie. And that was incredible. It was very good. You know, we started the Writers' Workshop in 1977, actually. So it's been about 35 years or so, whatever. It's up there a little bit. But love it. Just, I come back from college. I worked at Westchester, State College back then. I came back into Harrisburg and wanted to do something. And I was already writing poetry and all that. And so I met this incredible lady by the name of Mim Warden. And Mim Warden created, which is now called Jump Street. But at that time it was called The People Place. And then it went on to become, was it Metro Arts? And now it's Jump Street. But anyhow, I served on the board there, and that created the Writers' Workshop. And so we just started having weekly gatherings of poets, and it has never stopped. And we've had a beautiful time bringing in people, even Gwendolyn Brooks, for God's sake, who was this Pulitzer Prize-winning poet laureate. We've had Haki Mahabuti, we've had Donnell Lee. Of course, we know him as Mary Baraka. We've had some outstanding books. But then we've also had, the thing that the Writers' Workshop really has done is just giving a voice to all who wanted to bring their words to the microphone. And so that's what it's really all about. And I've just enjoyed doing it. Just simply having that little platform with the amazing Jason Moffat that's come up out of the Writers' Workshop, Yaya Soki, Maria Chow, and it just goes on and on. All those people have graced the workshop at one time. And many of the great poets who go to the Almost Uptown Poetry Cartel have all found their way through.
Yeah, pretty much anyone who is a performance-related poet in Harrisburg has spent some time. It's like an obligatory stop. You must spend some time in the Writers' Workshop.
Absolutely. And we've had a lot of fun with it. But, beyond that, I always see everything as ministry. So I'm a pastor. And I'm the founder and creator of what's called Imani, which stands for Faith in Swahili, African Christian Church. And we're just a small little congregation that pours libation, remembers our history, and praises God. So that's what we do. But also what we do is we implore everybody and tell everybody you must be a servant leader. And so I see poetry and the creation of the Writers' Workshop as part of my servant leadership role. Everything that I do, quite frankly, is a part of ministry. As with my wife, she has a company called Life is Steady. And out of that, we've grown a number of different things, our TV program and other things. But it's always to give a platform to somebody for some reason. And so that's what it's all about, just trying to help somebody along the way. There's one of my mentors, Dr. Kent Groff, says in his little piece always that I'm just one beggar trying to help another beggar get a piece of bread, you know? And I said, that's about what it is. We're all trying to get that piece of bread to sustain life and spirit, but we're just all beggars, you know, begging God for this, begging God for that, and we're all in the same boat. And so hopefully, you know, we've made some difference over the years with the Writers Workshop and other things that we've touched.
Right. Now, tell me about the TV show that you have up in Harrisburg.
Yeah, it's called Life Esteem. It comes on WHP TV 21. Comes on early Sunday morning at 6 a.m. WHB, yeah, I know. We watch the tape.
Exactly.
We watch the tape. But also, we put it on YouTube, so a lot of people see it in YouTube. And it's just go to Life Esteem, YouTube Life Esteem. And so we get a lot of, you know, place that way. We also have aired on for the past 20 years on WHBG TV 20, and they've aired it all throughout the week and everything. Most people are seeing it that way, but I have to give homage to WHP TV because they are the station that, you know, just simply does it for us. They're very professional. We walk in, we do 3 shows in a day, and I will tell you, no matter where we go, restaurant or whatever, someone will come up to you and say, love your show, oh, you can get up that order? Yeah, we do. That's our, you know. And so it's been good. And we've been on over 20 years now, you know, with our show. Yeah, and we're going to definitely have the tour again. Got to do it. Yeah. Got to do it. Yes, indeed.
What has kept the poetic passion and fire going for that long? How do you still find fresh inspiration or a fresh source of energy to keep finding these poets, to keep mentoring these young artists and these emerging artists, and to keep coming up with new ideas for shows, for performances, for features? I mean, I know people that get burned out running a venue, especially a weekly venue or a weekly TV show. After a couple of years, they're done. They never want to write another poem. They want to go live in a cave for 6 months and not even speak to anybody. And you're still out there on the street advocating.
I wrote a book a little while back in 2000, and I think it was 2000, and it's a journal. It's a creative journal, and it's called Learning Self-Therapy Through Writing. And in that journal, and now I've just revised it for 2013, so the new issue's out and all that kind of good stuff. And it's been doing well all those years. And the reason why I bring that up is because in front of the book, it talks about 4 stages of life that I believe in. The first stage being the I am. I actually call them bridges. You have to cross that bridge of I am. You actually have to know who you are. You have to define yourself, or let someone else define you. But often you're going to end up with the I am, okay? Right. So I believe that's important. The next step is the I can. So we have to all have talents and skills, something that we know we can do. But then that third bridge becomes very critical because it's I want to. There's some really skilled people out here who are wasting their talent because they don't really want to do it. Yeah. Or they've done something and now they got to the point where they really don't want to do it. I just happen to have gotten to the point where I say to myself, I am, I can, I really want to do the things that I'm doing. And when I really don't want to do those things, then I will probably start complaining more afterwards than what anybody. I start complaining about this, about that, you know, because I'm ready to move on now. But basically, poetry has allowed me to meet people like, you know, come on, to hear
That's
wonderful
true.
words.
And nice to meet you as well.
Absolutely, and to hear these fantastic stories and these wonderful journeys and to discover something like this. So to me, it's always a blessing. So I'm still at the I can and I want to stage. But then, of course, the 4th stage is I will do it today. So anything that you're going to get done, you got to go on and get it done. So I try not to be on that island called someday I'll do this and someday I'll do that, you know. No, I want to do it now. And whatever it is I want to do, Nate, you need to get to it, you need to do it. So I'm pretty happy and pretty comfortable still with all the stuff that I do. I'm not burned out from the poetry. I love Friday nights. I love hearing the different voices. And I'm always amazed if just one new person walks through that door. And I always talk about we're all living human documents. And we're all very, you know, we're all documenting something. So I just love to hear new voices, new journeys come into the room.
And now where people can hear you, we're Cafe Word at Midtown Scholar Bookstore on 3rd Street in Harrisburg is currently where you meet every Friday nights from 7 to 9.
7 to 9, every Friday. It's always free, always a wonderful time, and there's no form of fashion to it. It's just come in the door, break out your words, you know.
Break out your words. Now, Melanie, you came from even farther away. You were the
Sunbury
reigning poet in Perry County.
I was, yes. I lived in Liverpool for many years, Liverpool, Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Now, how did you make the transition from poetess to poetry advocate and organizational leader?
Wow. That's a good question. I think the only
Some
thing
seek greatness and some it is thrust upon them.
it must have been thrust. Well, I always had a love of poetry. My mother was a newspaper editor. And in fact, I credit York, Pennsylvania for giving me my very first publication. So you guys rule. Actually, it was a really great inspiration. Of course, my mother was my great inspiration too, as my uncle, who is a journalist and a two-time Pulitzer Prize Award journalist, I'm honored to say. But York, you know, too, just to give a little, thoughtfulness to where I'm standing right now today, really inspired me to publish my poem in 4th grade for the first time. So you have to credit that as part of that nourishment as well. But then onward, I think as far as promotion, my father was a salesman. And my grandfather was a brigadier general. My great-grandfather was a brigadier general. So organization and promotion was sort of part of our treat, you know. It was part of what were expected of us, to handle things and to help organize and, you know, keep things together, keep them sane.
So it was all about finding a way to use all your skills.
I think so. Yeah, and I love poetry, and it's hard not to want to just speak it and share it, you know, with other people.
Now, talk to me about the Association of Poet Laureates that you actually started and have done incredible work with.
Thank you. Yeah, that was founded, I believe, in 2007, the Association of Pennsylvania Poets Laureate. And at the time, Bill Diskin was my vice president. He's down in North Carolina now.
Yes.
But
jumped ship.
Yeah, he jumped ship, darn it. He was a really good co-advisor. But we all got together and we decided we needed an organization. At the time, our Poet Laureate post had been cut by our former governor, not our current governor, but our former governor, cut the post. And I had also, in the presence of that, I had gotten very interested in advocating for the Poet Laureate post for our state. We need another Poet Laureate post.
We do.
And Sam and I became close during that experience. You know, we ended up communicating. He came to some readings with me, and it inspired me to understand more about the process of promotion as well. You know, just having that involvement with Dr. Hazel. So, you know, we just decided we needed that. Of course, funding became another issue.
It always does. It always does.
So it was really hard, and at the time, now I really actually like our I don't know the politics involved, but I've actually had a wonderful experience with our First Lady, Susan Corbett, who came to, we shared together a poetry reading. She came to hear us, and Governor Corbett, I was on one of the shows where he was, and he asked me to ask some questions, and so I actually have a fondness for the new people in term from my own personal experience. And I'm hoping maybe we can communicate that need back to the new governor and First Lady as well.
Nice. So what would you say was is what you feel like needs to be put out there? Why is it so important that poetry is communicated to the public? And why is it so important that we get people interested and that we have these laureateship positions and that we have these publicly noticeable positions to advocate
right.
And that's a hobby and a literary art that's very personal.
I think that as human beings, our nature is to look at leadership. We have a leadership structure. Whether we want to admit it or not, being a democratic society, we do look at things through a structural form. And I think that we need someone to look up to, someone to stand the ground. That doesn't mean that other people don't have an integral, important part. I'm not talking about that type of leadership or structure. But I just think we need someone that can kind of be a role model for us, just like we have a governor, just like we have a president.
So it's as part of being a poet, it is also the responsibility, like we have with athletes or musicians. If you're going to be a publicly noticeable poet, there is that social responsibility to help others, to bring others forward, to bring the art form forward.
And also the art form is very important, I believe, for our state and for our country, because it's like sports. It gives us a release. It gives us a way to organize our process, our thought. And sometimes that can be threatening to some groups, politically or whatever. But in the long run, I truly feel it's what's best for us.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for bringing your advocacy and your passion to York and to our audience. Once again, I am Carla Christopher, your fearless host, and I am super grateful that you joined us for another episode of Culture in Maine. Make sure to log on to wrct.tv. Click on Channel 18, Show Profiles. You can find Culture in Maine, everything all in one spot. We are absolutely on Twitter. We are absolutely on Facebook. We are absolutely on YouTube, where you can catch all of our old episodes. You can also order them all now on DVD through our secure Etsy ordering site, which you can get to through our page too. So make sure to bring Culture in Maine home with you, or send it as a gift to somebody who you know appreciates the arts. Send us emails. We want to hear your suggestions. We want to hear what you think. cultureinmaine@gmail.com. And we definitely want to see you back here next week on the corner of Culture and Maine.
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out spaces, bright and early for the daily races, going nowhere, and the tears are filling up their glasses. No expression, no expression. Hide my head, I wanna drown my sorrow. No tomorrow, no tomorrow. And I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very, very mad world. Mad world.
I miss the sound of your voice. I miss the rush of your skin. I miss the still of the silence. 'Cause you don't breathe out, I breathe in. Like a ball gone water, I can tell you what's next. Make you believe, make you forget. So come on, get high, loose my lips, faith and desire. Swing your hips, pull me down hard, drown me in love. So come on, get high, loose my lips, faith and desire. Swing your hips, pull me down hard, and drown me in love. I miss the sound of your voice, the loudest thing in my head. And I ache to remember all the violent, sweet, perfect words that you said. All gone wild.
Well, just got back the other day and I stopped by your place just to say how things been going, doing all right, anything that I can do for you tonight. Yeah, rockabilly blues. Well, I tried too hard to keep you out, my friend, with everything we had just said that I had. Didn't know why, I can't figure it out. I wish I had the chance to work it all out. Hey, rockabilly blues. Didn't I give you everything? When the corner not so shiny rain. Didn't I always tell the truth? Yeah, this one's for you.
Come on! Let's go, let your mind go. Let me see your disco popping like a drum one time. We ain't going nowhere, so you better run, little bitch, run, little. Keep your hands up! Keep your hands up! time. Get your ass up now.